The best three words to describe me: skeptical, open-minded. Maybe that's the same thing. They're related. Let's count that as one word. Independent and active. It's a long story how I came to Vietnam, but it's really, a lot of it is by accident. I was in the US and I was working, as you know, as a journalist in the US, and I turned 40, which for me, the number didn't mean anything, but I did feel like I was reaching a point in my life where I wasn't satisfied to stay where I was in the US anymore. And so, as I said before, I'm active and I'm open-minded and I'm independent. And I decided to move to Asia, actually Japan, for no reason at all. I quit my job and I left because I wanted just to sort of start over. And that's worked out very well for me. I have a friend who went to university and high school with me and home, and he's been in Saigon for about 13 years. And while I was traveling through Vietnam, I met him, and we've now been in business together for 3 years. Yeah. There's so many things, because Vietnam it's equal parts fascinating and frustrating for me. It's frustrating for me as a foreigner because it's so different from everything that I grew up with. And it's a developing country, and of course I come from a very developed country. And so there are things that I find frustrating on a daily basis. But there are things that I find fascinating and amazing and enlightening on a daily basis as well. And one thing I like about Vietnam, and this perhaps is just for me, is that it's unpredictable. It's always unpredictable. Just when I think I understand it a little bit, something happens that makes me realize I don't understand and I will never understand. And I really enjoy that. That's a tough one. Well, I love my house. I really like my house. My house is it's in a very traditional Vietnamese neighborhood, Thanh Quy, behind Latte Mart. I'm the only foreigner in the neighborhood. It's a big, big, big house. I would never be able to afford this house if it were in District 1. But because it is where it is, I can afford it, and I have 4 big bedrooms and lots of room to. But I like my neighborhood too, because I walk outside and I'm not surrounded by expats and some imaginary version of Vietnam. I'm in the middle of real Vietnam, and my neighbors are, at the cafe. They're having a funeral service and wailing all night long. They're doing karaoke. I like that. Well, I've traveled a lot in southern Vietnam because the nature of the tour company that I run requires me to travel a lot. But I haven't traveled as much as I would like to. I've traveled a lot on one specific route, which is the back roads from here to Vung Tau, to Moi Kea Ga, up the coast to Moi Nay, up the mountain to Dalat, and down again to Nha Trang. So I'm very familiar with that route, and I really love that area. I love the highlands, and especially that ride from Dalat down to Nha Trang. I'd like to see more of the Mekong because I've only been there a couple times, but it's difficult to see the Mekong in an authentic way. And when I travel in Vietnam, I really do want to do it in an authentic way. I don't have any interest in a package tour, because that's not Vietnam. And what I like to do is get on a motorbike and just start driving out to where there are no foreigners. And that's hard to do in the Mekong, you know, because the one time I tried that in the Mekong, I kept, you know, it's very easy to lose your way. There's one main road, and everybody kept trying to tell me, no, 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 you don't want to see the buffalo and the rice field. That's very boring. You want to go to the city. I'm going, no, I don't. I want to go see the buffaloes and the rice fields. And they said, no, 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 no. And they kept, the only directions they would give me were for the city. So I want to try that. But of course, I love the way that the North is such a different area than the South. The food, the people, the climate, the attitude, the language, everything. So I really enjoy that. And I have not spent as much time in Hanoi and the North as I would like, but what I have seen, I really love. What I love about the Vespas is that that retro style. It's the fact that these are these gorgeous Italian-made scooters. They're made of metal. There's no plastic on these machines. You know, they're antiques. They're 40, sometimes 45 years old. Mine is a 1968 150cc Vespa Sport. It runs like a dream. That's partly because of the great restoration job that my partner does on these bikes. He's just got such style. And the orange color I really like because it's very distinctive. And he's not as comfortable as a modern bike. He doesn't run as well as a modern bike. When I put petrol, I have to add some oil to the, you know, he doesn't have the same shocks or absorbance, but he's got style, and that's what something you can't say about every modern bike. The best situation that I've had with him, the long trips that I've taken him on, sometimes just really amazing. And I love, you know, taking him up the mountain and feeling that feeling of riding on this old vintage scooter. And I'm in Southeast Asia, and I'm really living the life that I didn't expect, but one that I'm really pleased with. And all that together sometimes feels really good. The worst experience is on him. I can't count the number of times I've ran out of petrol because there's no, you know, there's no meter. You have to look in the tank and shine your camera in there to see how much. And it always changes. It's not sometimes he just runs out in the middle of a tank. That can be very frustrating when it's in the rain at night. Or you're coming back from a long trip and the tire explodes and you have to try to find somebody. I did have a really great experience one time when I was actually up near in the north near Ninh and way out in the middle of nowhere, and I ran out of petrol and I was pushing him for about 5 kilometers and I had no idea where I would find petrol. No idea. And some young kids came around and saw me and walked with me for a long way, speaking Vietnamese. They had no English. I had no Vietnamese. And finally, they led me to a tiny, tiny, tiny little village where they had a petrol pump. But they all invited me in and just wanted to look at me and give me tea and give me things to eat for the sake of having this tall, blonde, blue-eyed foreigner in their home. And meanwhile, the father was out there fixing the putting more gas in there and fixing the tire, which was a problem. And at the end of it, they said no money. And these were very poor people, obviously. So that was nice. Just laziness, really. I've never been very comfortable in a tie. Certainly never been very comfortable in a suit, and probably the reason that I never went into finance or banking is because I never wanted to wear a suit. So really, it's just it is a character flaw that means I would rather wear jeans than a button-up shirt. My future, well, you know, I've never been very much of a long-term plan kind of person. I've never been good at it. I guess one of the things I should have said about myself at the beginning is I tend to be fairly spontaneous. You know, the way that I moved to Asia was a decision I made in a matter of about a week. And so I tend to take life as it comes at me, and I don't regret making decisions that way, because for me that's a much surer path to satisfaction and happiness than making an objective for myself 5 years down the road that is based on priorities that might not be important to me 5 years down the road. So regarding Vietnam, I really love teaching in a way that I never expected I would like it, because I never did teaching before I came to Vietnam. But I find it gratifying and satisfying in a way that I never expected, and I really love. The tour company that I work with is growing very quickly and in a great way. So I doubt I'll be walking away from that anytime soon. However, Southeast Asia is a very contained place, and whether I will stay in Vietnam or not, I don't know. What I can say is I doubt that I will be returning to the United States anytime in the near future, permanently. But I don't also have any plans to leave Vietnam. I'm really happy. I'm really pleased to see you guys taking the initiative to do something like this, which is new and ambitious and contemporary, and that makes me really happy to see that happening. And heaven knows that we need to find a way to introduce ProfCom students more to the social media ecosystem, because that's really necessary when we get out there and do jobs. And we've been pushing Melbourne for a long time to be able to offer more social media training, but that is difficult, working politically and bureaucratically with that big system. So I think the way that you guys have approached it has been very clever, and it's good to see. I'm really watching and eager to see how it turns out.